Am I audible?
Loud and clear?
Okay, cool. Wait, I'm gonna get my timer. All right, cool. Starting my speech in 3, 2, 1. I think the characterization that all of the sides in this parliament today have to actually acknowledge is the state of the refugees and the state of immigrants that are living outside the foreign countries. We can look in the status quo today. We have countries like Palestine who are at war. We think it's very much the obligation of state to actually intake these kind of immigrants that are living in Palestine, that are being killed, that are being bombed by the society in this Israel and Palestine conflict. We think it's our obligation to take care of these immigrants and these refugees living in Palestine. But before that it is going to be consistently declining like year by year, right? Second definition is immigrants. We tell you that immigrants are people who are born in different countries or foreign countries which are like applying for residency, whether it be temporarily or permanently. Now, this looks like people from Palestine, people from Bangladesh wanting to live in Malaysia, for instance, right? We think that this debate shouldn't be like too shallow and not include refugees. We think that immigrants should also include refugees, for instance, like people from Palestine. What's the stance coming from opening government today? We support like the existence of immigrants to solve the problem of birth rate that we have in status quo. Second stance, we support the improvement of life of refugees and immigrants under outside the house. We think that we are able to solve the problem of refugees from Palestine, for instance, and the problem of birth rate that we have instead. We think that under outside the house is a win-win scenario for both sides. We are able to solve the problem of birth rate, and we are also able to improve the life of these immigrants and refugees in Palestine, for instance, right? What is the characterization that we need to take into account in status quo? First, our first characterization in Malaysia to get money, to get income for their family. We tell you that the other idea of refugees is about Palestinians who are in wars or post-war victims, right? We tell you that second characterization, what is the problem of declining birth rate? We tell you on the side of opening government, there's two actual problems of declining birth rate. Firstly, economically, you are going to have less workers, you are going to have less consumers when you have a lower birth rate. That's actually the wider scope in which that you have declining birth rate and in status quo today. What's the mechanism that we are proposing today on the side of opening government? Firstly, we allow immigrants to work legally instead of illegally, because we can see in a lot of states today that immigrants are not allowed to work legally. So under outside the house, specifically and exclusively, we allow these people to work legally and can work in corporate jobs. Second mechanism, we allow immigrants to send their kids to school, because we think on the outside the house it's better when we let families live in our country instead of dying in Palestine, for instance. Thirdly, however, we understand the problem of immigration and how you have stereotypes and how people are resented, how locals don't like immigrants. So we present you two more mechanisms. They have to exactly prove to us why exactly is these immigrants and these refugees so harmful to the society around them that we cannot allow and embrace these immigrants at the end of the day. So the question today, how exactly are we going to solve the immigrants and the problem of birth rate? On the side of opposition, they have to provide to us a counterfactual or the counter mechanism in which they are able to actually solve and alleviate the problem of birth rate. Insofar in which that side of opposition does not give you counterfactual, we are already 50% there winning to this debate. Now, let us move on to arguments today. First argument is about how is the obligation of state. The premise of this argument is humanity itself. First layer of analysis. How does it look like and what does it look like today? We told you that immigrants are people who want to improve their lives. For instance, it can be the refugees in Palestine. It can be the people who are in Bangladesh who cannot just get a work in Bangladesh, for instance. We want you to consider the state of Palestine in which that they are in wars, where people are dying, where families are being killed, and houses are being bombed. We think it's within the obligation of us as humans to help other humans
Recording
in
in
our world.
progress.
We think it's better than on the outside the house that we fulfill this obligation and we actually allow these people the right to live. The people of Palestine to actually live their life and to actually live their life to an extent that they can be fulfilled with their life. Outside the house, when we fulfill this obligation as human, when people actually see that state is fulfilling this obligation, people are more likely going to support state. They are more likely going to support the state that is currently ruling into giving them more votes, for instance, right? We think it's better for state then that we fulfill this obligation of trying to save humanity that is currently happening in Palestine, that is currently happening in wars like, for instance, the Ukraine and Russia war that we had, right? Now, before I move on to the next layer of analysis, any POIs? Okay, it's already 6 minutes, but okay. Now, let's just move on to next layer of analysis or the next layer of arguments, right? We have another argument about economics that will be extended by my second speaker further, but this entire point of economics is basically when you have more people actually wanting to work, when you have immigrants that can work, we are more likely going to have more economic benefits on the outside the house. Let's say we are going to have more workers, we are going to have more consumers working in like, let's say you have more workers working in like this little income jobs, because we tell you that people now do not have to work these little income jobs, rather they can actually
So I'll be good morning, master controversial, and my pronouns are he, him. Okay. Speech will be starting. Okay. Okay. So speech will be starting in 3, 2, 1. Panel, it's clear that there has been a misunderstanding by the Prime Minister of the CPA. Let's clear it up. A few segments to my speech. Firstly, I'll be providing you with the general setup on government side, and secondly, I'll be providing you a few points of argumentation. Now, moving straight to definitions, right? What do these declining